With all of this talk about Throne and Liberty dying and being cooked, it got me thinking, what will the future of Throne and Liberty look like? It is no secret that Throne and Liberty's player base has been dropping off significantly fast. But does this really mean that it's dying? In a sense, this may be the case, because a video game that has low number of players is going to be dead, right? Looking at the Steam chart, comparing the average player in the first month, which is at around 150,000 active players. Then it gradually goes down by half every month, with the exception of December 2024 and the last 30 days. Now to explain this data, the first month, which is October, is basically just the honeymoon phase of the game, and it is no secret that most video games peaks at their release because of the hype that they built up through the years of creating the video game. So everyone who got caught by the hype will surely try out the game. But most of them generally quits because they may be thinking that the game is just not for them, or at first they think it was extremely fun. But when they played it for a span of a week or two, they quit because they already consumed all the content. Or it could just be because they didn't like the game but still wanted to see how it plays. There's basically 1,000 of reason. And I could keep on going, but the main point is that mostly, there are no video games that keeps their player base at the first month. Now that the high numbers of players in the first month are explained, next is going to be the numbers in November and December. A huge drop is still seen in the numbers of players, which could have the same reason as the first month, but what I would add on the reasons why they quit is the siege. The pinnacle content of Throne and Liberty is Siege, and the first castle siege happened on November 17th, 2024. I could see that a huge number of players that stopped playing at November is because they've already experienced the siege and already had their full experience and opinion with the game. Maybe their computer couldn't run the siege well, so they quit. It could also be because their alliance lost the siege, or they could be one of the smaller guilds in the server that was trying to enjoy the siege and got their feelings obliterated when they saw that they had no chance of taking the castle. These are all valid reasons for a player to quit. But what interests me the most is the numbers in the month of December compared to the last 30 days. This data shows that the daily players of the game is starting to become stable, though it would surely still go down in a couple more months, but certainly not by a lot. This means that Throne and Liberty is actually dying when looking at the player base. But maybe we could look at it from a different perspective. There are servers that look dead because it is only dominated by a single alliance. But server merges will happen, and this will surely make the players feel that the game is now alive, because they would see a lot more players competing with each other. This was what our alliance did. Since we were bored of dominating just one server with no one to fight, we all thought, what are we grinding for? Since the main content of this game is the large-scale PvP, and we weren't getting any except for the archboss fight and sieges. We were getting bored of just logging in, killing the field boss, then logging off. That is why we transferred to another server with lots of players to play with. With this, I personally feel like the game is alive again. The point that I'm trying to get to is that, to an individual, the game being dead or alive may depend on the number of players that they see in the server. At our previous server, everything felt dead. Right after we transferred to a more active server with 2 alliances fighting, making us the third, it now feels more alive, making it more fun. But what about from an overall perspective? 30,000 daily players is by no means low. Sure, if you compared it to a much more successful game like World of Warcraft, it may feel dead. But whenever you compare those 30,000 players to the previous 155,000 active players, it is normal to look at it at one glance and say that the game is dying. But the Korean version of the game is a different case. As we all know, Throne and Liberty Korea's player base is already close to dying, and the argument of calling it dead is not far-fetched. Amazon Games is doing its best to communicate with the community to hopefully prevent the inevitable downfall of Throne and Liberty, as we have seen in the Korean version of the game. MMORPG games are very hard to keep relevant. That is why World of Warcraft was such a rare case that no one was able to replicate the same success that they have in the space. So to answer your question, if the player base keeps on dropping, Throne and Liberty's future would most likely just become a niche community in the future. But with the current trend, I could see Throne and Liberty keeping their daily players at 20,000 in the upcoming months. Keep in mind that Steam charts only counts the PC players, And it does not include our console players and our Steam Deck players, which, to be honest, I'd predict that they could account for around 10,000 players, but not more than that. If you're a console player, I would like to know your experience in Throne. Are you able to run it well, especially on big events like arch bosses and sieges? And since the targeting sucks at this game, I would imagine that it sucks even more with a controller, which, if I'm not wrong, I think that they mentioned in the last Tico talk that they're still trying to implement the mouse and keyboard functionality for our console players. This could be a bad thing since it is completely fair to assume that there are a lot of console players that got turned off with not being able to use a mouse and keyboard when playing when the controller clearly sucked. I also heard that Steam Deck gamers are experiencing lagging issues, and they couldn't run the game well enough to be playable on large events. With that, I have another question. Why is it currently dying? This is where our casual players comes in. When I ask that question, I know you're all thinking of the zerging and alliances soloing all the fun content in the game. I've seen what an extremely dominant alliance can do to a server. It basically kills the game for the weaker alliances or guilds because all of the people who grinded their gears and are considered the strongest in the server are all in the same alliances, leading to no chances of being able to fight back. This in return kills the game for our casual guilds and weaker alliances because now they can't have any loot, and they can't even contest properly because they're simply just getting wiped. And guess what happens when players are constantly losing every day on every boss that they attend to? That's right, they're going to transfer to a server with less competition or just quit the game. This is what happened to the alliance that we beat in our server, where the majority of them just quit the game, and the strongest in their alliance just gathered and transferred servers as a single guild looking to join a strong alliance, which then could now kill another server, and they just did, according to my sources. And now this cycle continues. That is why I think that the field bosses being changed into a GVG fight is a genius idea, but I did have some suggestions on how to make it better, such as making a GVG fight but with 3 guilds for more outplay potential. I've mentioned more changes to make it better in that video, so if you're interested, you can check it out after this video. Alliances have definitely caused some big problems in this game, and I did think about removing alliances in the game. But then I thought, what's stopping them from not killing their previous alliance members to continue dominating the server? This would return to a much shittier time for the guilds that are trying to play fair. Plus, alliances is what makes Siege fun. Imagine taking on the whole server and being able to defend the castle. Every castle holder feels like a hero whenever they successfully defend the castle. But in reality, most of the people are just griefing each other outside, throwing their skills at the biggest clump that they see. Now that we can see that there are multiple reasons why Throne and Liberty is currently dying, I still hope that Throne and Liberty will become very successful in the future because, frankly speaking, I enjoy the game. And more than anything, I want them to succeed because I can see that the developers of Throne and Liberty have been trying their best to give what the community wants, listening to whatever feedback the community gives to hopefully prevent the dark future of Throne and Liberty. I'm really hoping that the global version of the game will have a different outcome to what has become of Throne and Liberty Korea. And maybe we should learn that the game losing a huge amount of players really doesn't matter that much if you enjoy playing the game. Like I said, Throne and Liberty's future at its current path is to become a niche game, and if you're one of the players that is joining the niche, then whatever anyone says, you're winning because you're the one having fun. Leave a comment on what you think about the video, and with that, see you in the next video.